divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. No, this isn't a horror movie script. This is the actual love life of King Henry VIII. In the last episode, we saw Henry change the country's religion just to divorce his first wife and marry Anne Boleyn. He thought Anne would finally give him a son. But guess what? She gave him a daughter, Elizabeth. Henry was furious. He felt scammed. And when Henry felt scammed, people usually lost their heads. Literally, Henry started to believe rumors about Anne. People said she was a witch. They said she had 6 fingers on one hand. And worst of all, they accused her of cheating on the king, even with her own brother. Was it true? Probably not. But Henry didn't care. He wanted a new wife. So, Anne Boleyn, the woman who changed history, was beheaded by a French swordsman. Henry didn't even wait for her body to get cold. The very next day, he got engaged to wife number 3, Jane Seymour. Now, Jane was the opposite of Anne. She was quiet, obedient, and boring. Exactly what Henry wanted. And finally, a miracle happened. Jane gave birth to a healthy baby boy, Prince Edward. Henry was over the moon. He finally had his heir. But tragedy struck again. 2 weeks later, Jane died from complications of childbirth. Henry was heartbroken. He famously said Jane was his only true wife, mostly because she gave him a son, and died before he could get tired of her. After mourning for a bit, Henry's advisors said, "Hey, you need a backup son." So, Henry went back on the dating market. But this time, it was like 16th century Tinder. He saw a painting of a German princess named Anne of Cleves. She looked gorgeous in the portrait. Henry swiped right. He agreed to marry her immediately. But when she arrived in England, Henry was shocked. He looked at her and said, "I like her not. She looks like a horse." It was the first case of catfishing in history. The painter had used a bit too much Photoshop. Henry divorced her after just 6 months. But lucky for Anne of Cleves, she was smart. She agreed to the divorce quietly. So Henry gave her a bunch of castles and money. And she lived happily ever after as the king's beloved sister. She was definitely the winner of this game. Now, enter wife number 5, Catherine Howard. Henry was now almost 50. He was fat, sick, and had a smelly leg ulcer. But Catherine was a teenager, like 17 years old. Henry spoiled her with jewelry and clothes. He called her his rose without a thorn. But Catherine was young and reckless. She didn't want to nurse an old, grumpy man. So she started having an affair with a young guy named Thomas Culpeper. Bad move. You do not cheat on Henry VIII. When Henry found out, he cried first, then he raged. Catherine was dragged to the Tower of London. She asked to practice laying her head on the block the night before. And then, chop, beheaded, just like her cousin, Anne Boleyn. By now, Henry was a mess. He was huge, couldn't walk, and trusted no one. He needed a nurse more than a wife. Enter the final wife, number 6, Catherine Parr. She was a widow, smart, and kind. She basically took care of the dying king and reunited him with his daughters, Mary and Elizabeth. She was the survivor. She managed to keep her head on her shoulders until Henry finally died in 1547. So, let's recap the score. Catherine of Aragon divorced. Anne Boleyn beheaded. Jane Seymour died. Anne of Cleves divorced. Catherine Howard beheaded. Catherine Parr survived. 6 wives, 1 king, and a whole lot of trauma. Henry VIII spent his whole life chasing a son to secure his legacy. But ironically, it was his daughter, Elizabeth, the daughter of the beheaded Anne Boleyn, who became one of the greatest monarchs in English history. Life has a funny sense of humor, doesn't it? Which wife do you feel most sorry for? Or do you think Anne of Cleves was actually the lucky one? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this crazy royal drama, make sure to subscribe to Savage Archives right now. Click the link in the description or the button on screen. We have more dark history coming your way. Thanks for watching and stay savage.